Who is this superhero? Sarge?
No!
Rosemary, the telephone operator?
No, man!
Henry, the mild-mannered janitor? Hong Kong Phooey, #1 super guy. Hong Kong Phooey.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Source Material Podcast. And we're getting ready right now. We're shifting out of the spooky, scary territory, and we're heading right into Saturday morning cartoons, if you will. Tonight, we are bringing to you, is this our second or third iteration of this, Mark? Do you remember?
This is the second iteration of DC meets the Hanna Barbera universe. This is the third time we've done one of these mashup series.
I got it.
Because one of them was DC meets the Looney Tunes.
And
we should point out that the third iteration has just been announced. They're coming out with it for too long. I do remember one of the titles is going to be Deathstroke meets Yogi Bear.
Fantastic.
They just can't stop.
I quit.
They just cannot stop. So, okay, well, joining me on this journey, what we're going to be doing is it's a throwback to a couple older episodes that we've done where we are discussing a crossover between DC and a cartoon property. We're this time, like we've heard, it's going to be DC Hanna Barbera. We've got 4 stories, 4 players: me, Mark, Alexis, and Ronnie, and then we have a judge.
Here comes the judge! Here comes the judge! Here comes the judge! Here comes the judge!
Josh Calandris could not be here tonight, so Mark Radulich reached out to one of the people that he believes can be fair and impartial, and that would be his father, Chris Radulich. See, I've had your son on this podcast for at least, how long has it been now, Mark? A year, more than a year, right?
It's been 2 years, yeah.
And there's a couple stories you've shared about your dad and comics. So I want to hear it from the man himself. Chris, have you ever gotten into, or were you into comics and reading comics faithfully at a point in time, or what's your history there?
Oh, I was reading comics probably into my 30s. I stopped reading comics when the Marvel comics decided to come out with multiple covers of a single issue, and it just felt like they were ripping me off.
Yeah, that was a money grab. It was a money grab. So that was the 90s, I would assume, or 80s, probably late 80s, maybe. Obviously, you just said you weren't a DC guy, so you're a Marvel guy. What was the first comic that you remember picking up and reading?
Oh, probably was a DC, but I switched over to Marvel with Spider-Man right at the beginling.
Okay.
Would you like
to probably threw away a good $40,000 worth of comics on it.
He told it without me. He told that story without me even having to cue him up. I was waiting for it.
You faithfully collected the early issues of Spider-Man and threw them out. Please tell me you didn't throw them out, did you?
No, let's be honest. I started with Spider-Man. I had that 1 through, and Fantastic Four 2 through, I don't know what. Then I went in the Army and kind of didn't read any comics at that point in time. And when I came back, she had given them to a cousin who was in the hospital. And that was the end of it.
That's a worthy cause, in my opinion. I would assume that the cousin lived and is now a millionaire or something like that because they sold all your comics.
No, but his cousins are millionaires.
Well, there's your comics. Go and get them. My gosh. We always hear stories about, as myself, as a kid growing up reading comics in the 80s and 90s, you always heard the stories about your mom or your dad just throwing the box away. It's always heartbreaking to hear one happen in person. So you were a Spider-Man guy. You started out with Spider-Man, and then you stopped, like you said, when things started getting a little bit too gimmicky in the 80s and 90s. Have you picked up anything and read anything since then?
Well, you got the Dark Knight series, the graphic novels. And I actually still have a collection of Transformers Excalibur.
Oh.
I loved Excalibur. There was just something about the irreverence of it that I enjoyed as opposed to a straight story.
Hey, Dad, tell him your favorite X-Men graphic novel, if for nothing else but the name only.
God Loves, Man Kills.
Yep.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mark's brought that up a few times on the podcast. I don't know if I've ever read it, to be honest. That might be one of those ones that's flew under.
Good read.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say good things about it. So So did you sit down with old Mark and watch some cartoons when he was watching cartoons, or how about yourself? I know that property's been around for a while, but you know much about the Hanna-Barbera cartoon characters?
Well, it's a long time ago. If I remember right, Huckleberry Hound was probably my favorite, though I did watch.
Oh, we've got a show for you then.
Wait, now that you brought that up, hey, Dad, what did you think, one, of Snagglepuss, of the Snagglepuss comic, Exit Stage Left, and two, then tell us what did you think of our review of said comic?
To be honest, I think I only read a little bit of the Snagglepuss comic, and I was expecting comedy, and I got social commentary, and it just felt wrong.
Man, I love you.
That was blunt.
Sir, you are my hero now.
Yeah, you've now got your own unofficial son in Ronnie Adams.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
If you listen to our review, you could tell Ronnie was uncomfortable from the get-go and how upset he was that they would do this.
But what did you think? What did you think of the review? Now you got to tell us what you think of one of your first additions to source material.
The review was all right. It was about that. I mean, I don't have a problem that Snagglepuss was gay. It's just that, again, he's a cartoon character. My Snagglepuss I knew was funny.
Yeah.
Hashtag not my Snagglepuss.
Oh my
gosh. Not my
gosh.
Snagglepuss. Forget about the fact he's gay. It just wasn't funny in any way, shape, or form. Don't know what the purpose of it was. Such, maybe Snagglepuss changed after I grew up, and he's totally different now.
No, he did not. I don't think Mark Russell grabbed a hold of that property and made sure that thing changed. That's
Ruined it?
Can I go ahead and say I just learned something new about my dad? I had no idea that Huckleberry Hound was his favorite anything, and I'm on Amazon now looking for nothing but Huckleberry Hound stuff to get him for Christmas.
Nice. Merry Christmas.
Expect a lot of Huckleberry Hound, Dag. I'm running this into the ground.
Well,
See, now I've just got "Oh My Darling" stuck in my head. Thank a lot, guys.
You know what?
Oh, yeah.
Oddly enough, so do I.
all right.
Not me.
That's definitely where I got how to sing Clementine from.
Nice.
Would you like to share a rendition with us right here on the Full Serial Podcast?
An exclusive.
Sure. You want to start now?
Yeah, go ahead, hit it.
Oh, my darling. Oh, my darling. Oh, my darling Clementine. Lost and gone forever. Dreadful stories, Clementine.
I can't help but marvel at the mixture of the East Coast and Southern accent. Get through with that.
That made up for everything I've been through on this show.
Hey, as far as Radulich is singing on this podcast, all right?
That was by far the best.
Chris Radulich gets the award from here to eternity. Now, that was awesome. That was awesome. So, okay, well, let's go ahead. We'll talk about the subject at hand tonight. We each took a book from this trade, these 4 issues, DC Hanna Barbera 2, or I don't know if they actually has a
Electric Boogaloo.
actual title. I do know it's very recent. It came out in 2018. The way that we're going to do this is each of us took a story, and Mark, remind me of the order we're doing this again.
Who's doing what? Or because I'm going first, and I got Jabberjaws and Aquaman.
Okay.
You're going next. You're what? Dynamite and the Super Sons.
That's right.
Ronnie Adams is next. Ronnie, which one are you?
Black Lightning and Hong Kong Phooey.
And bringing up the rear is Alexis Hanna doing what?
Flash and Speed Buggy.
All right. So just real quick before we dive into it, Chris, do any of those stick out to you property-wise? Do you recognize any of those names?
Well, I recognize most of them. Black Lightning, which I'm watching now on on CW or wherever the hell it is. I watched 3 seasons of The Flash, and it really was annoying. Don't ask me why I watched seasons.
Oh, God, I'm screwed.
And that's all for Alexis Hanna. Good night.
I don't know. You said Jabberwocky, Mark? As in Alice in Wonderland?
No, sir. Jabberjaws. He's the greatest shark you ever saw.
Yeah, that I have no clue.
Ah, damn it.
Great. I knew that we may be going in with a little bit of a handicap, as you know, you may not have heard who the Super Sons were, or may not have heard of Dynomutt. So we have our work cut out for us to kind of give you a understanding of who these characters are and what in the world is happening in this story. We're going to try and pitch this story to you, and your job is to pick which one would you like to pick up and read. All right, so that's what we're going to try and do. That's our 5-minute or 10-minute elevator pitch, and then you're like, okay, I'm definitely going to pick that one up, and I'll read it. You don't have to hold yourself to that. You just got to pick a winner. So, Mark Radulich, take over, sir.
They call him Jabba, 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 Jabberjaw.
The futuristic shock you ever saw.
He can walk and talk and walk. He's so sharp, the things he does are Jabba, 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 Jabberjaw.
And the greatest shock you ever saw.
When his friends get in a jam, they just call on this big man. Jabba, 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 Jabberjaw. The biggest, funniest shark you ever saw. Jabba, 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 Jabberjaw.
I don't get no respect.
Jabberjaw!
All right. To be consistent with my previous pitches, I'm pitching this as a movie. I want this to be Aquaman 2.
Oh,
okay?
no.
Well, are we assuming that the first Aquaman movie? Well, of course it's going to be good. I'm going to see it just because I want to see Jason Momoa shirtless.
Oh, yes, my goodness.
Of course you do. Yes, I assume James Wan's Aquaman, which is coming out this December, will be fine. It'll make plenty of money. It'll make more than twice its budget. They're going to do an Aquaman 2. It'll come out sometime in 2030, the way Warner Brothers works. This is what I want to see. I want to see the next Aquaman have a slightly lighter tone than the current iteration of Bro Dude Aquaman with Jason Momoa. Let's do a buddy cop kind of thing. Let's take right from this book, Aquaman and Jabberjaws, a bigger beat. Now, to be clear and to make sure that my father's all caught up here, he knows who Aquaman is. Aquaman is the king of Atlantis. He can communicate with the sea life via telepathy. And then there's Jabberjaws, who's the greatest shark you ever saw. He's a talking shark based off the Curly character from the Three Stooges. He's a shark from the future, as a matter of fact. He plays in a band called the Neptunes. He's the drummer, as a matter of fact. So we find ourselves in Amnesty Bay, right, where Aquaman is, living and protecting both the land and the sea. And he hopes one day that the land and the sea can live together in perfect harmony. Right? And as it turns out, there's a recent rash of shark attacks. See, this is what you need because it brings back Jaws. It brings back all the shark attack movies, right? But there's a twist. That's right. Summer blockbuster, but there's a twist. This shark is not attacking people. This shark happens to be Jabberjaws. Now, there are, in fact, sharks attacking. What has happened is sharks have crossed through a portal.
Oh, man.
And they're irritable, they're angry, they're attacking people, and Aquaman can't communicate with them. We have a mystery on our hands. He can't talk to the angry sharks that have come through the portal. So, if I remember correctly, him and Jabberjaws team up together, and they go through the portal, which turns out it's a portal to the future. This is Jesse Starcher's favorite thing. Now we have time travel.
Oh, damn, I'm going to see this movie.
That's right. So, Aquaman and Jabberjaws travel into the future, and what we learn is that in the not-so-distant future, they build a sea lab, right? That sea lab in Jabberjaws' time, yes, this has also got included Sea Lab 2021.
Holy crap. All right, continue.
I was like, well, now you had to say in the not-too-distant future, so now I've got the MST3K song in my head.
So what we learn is that they built this sea lab, and this sea lab in Jabberjaws' time, many years in the future, will become Aqualand, okay? And Aqualand is where the people and the sea life live together. But lo, there's a plot afoot. The new Ocean Master and his henchman Dorsal have created a situation where they're creating monster sea life, and they're wanting to attack the present to make sure that the sea lab never comes into existence. Okay, so our mystery takes us to that point, right? Aquaman and Jabberjaws and the Neptunes, they go to battle with Ocean Master, who is not actually Aquaman's brother in this iteration. It's a new guy.
New 52 confusing us all. By the way, why did you say Jabberjaws plural? I thought it was Jabberjaw singular.
It might be Jabberjaw, but in the song,
Jabberjaws.
it's in the song if they say Jabberjaws.
I've got to look now. But go ahead, continue.
Okay, yeah. So they meet up with the Neptunes. The Neptunes kind of give us some exposition as to what's going on in this world. I gotta.
It
look.
is singular, by the way, just to make sure we're all on the same page. I mean, you don't have to change any of your pitch, but whatever, man. It is Jabberjaw, according to what I'm seeing here.
Okay.
I had no idea. I said the same thing. So go.
All right. So there's this giant. So Ocean Master also has this giant shark monster robot thing that goes to get him. They fight and they deal with that. This is Ocean Master giving us his villainous plot. Because I despise it all liberal and inclusive. Yuck. See that, Dad? He's attacking the progressives.
Wait a second. Wait a second.
He's attacking the progressives, and this book is about saving the progressives. Yeah. I intend to collapse the already troubled stability of Aqualand society. They say, by sending enraged sharks back in time through your portal, yes, they'll create terror in 2018, and people will never trust the sea enough to start living in it. Sea Lab will never be created, and Aqualand will never be. Okay. Aquaman then saves everybody. He takes out all of Ocean Master's thugs. There's a big fight that happens. Ocean Master makes a run for it. Aquaman affirms he is the king of Atlantis, which Dorsal disagrees with because he says he is.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Sure.
Dorsal, is that like Jabberjaw's nemesis or something? I don't know who the hell this is. Who is that?
I honestly don't know either.
Okay. Sold.
There's a really great exchange of dialogue here. Aquaman says, your portal isn't attacking the past, Dorsal. It's attacking a different reality altogether.
Oh.
You can endanger and fragment the entire multiverse. And Dorsal says, I find the multiverse theory entirely unconvincing. At which point Aquaman exclaims, Neptune's balls.
What?
Awesome.
Aquaman calls on various sea life to come and help him. So they're outnumbered by Ocean Master and Dorsal's thugs and henchmen. So he calls on all the sea life to come, and they come in and they breach the hull and they save everybody. And they save Sea Lab and Aqualand, and Aquaman goes back to his own time, but not before he gives Jabberjaw a mission. He says, I've got to head home and make sure the portal's shut, but why don't you guys spread the message through your music? See, they're going to spread the message of progressivism through music to tour Aqualand and bring humans and marine life together.
Oh, is this like a pseudo origin story of some way, shape, or form or something?
Yes.
Or
Yes.
Very interesting.
And so the Neptunes gain all kinds of celebrity after this as they preach, the message of positivity between humans and sea life. And I want to say this last thing to close up my pitch here. This whole thing, this buddy cop story through time and space and reality, is featuring everyone's hero, Aquaman, and everyone's favorite shark, the greatest shark you ever saw, Jabberjaw, is about respect. Because Jabberjaw don't get no respect, and Aquaman don't get no respect. And it's high time they got respect. And in this movie, they get that respect. That's
Nice closing argument. Okay. First off, before we go to the judge for any questions, Alexis, do you have any questions about this book?
No, I just made sure I got my 2 cents in there about how the name was pronounced, but I'm good.
I like it. Jabberjaw.
Yeah.
Ronnie Adams.
I thought it came out of his mind. I thought he thought up the whole thing on the spot. It was a good pitch. Not sure that I would actually watch that movie.
You got any questions for him?
Or read that book. Yes. How did you not go insane reading that?
Honestly, nobody turned into a building. I was fine with it.
Done.
Good call.
That's my go-to.
I'll tell you.
If no one turns into a building or the entire cast doesn't get like syphilis from some sort of cosmic entity, I'm fine.
I can tell you that if it wasn't for the fact that we have to have a judge on here, and I was the judge, Mark Radulich he's won already. We got time travel, we've got portals, we got sharks, we got Aquaman, and Sea Lab. Oh my goodness, I just want to look at the issue just to see if there's any iconic Sea Lab 2021 characters from like the show. I doubt there are, but oh my goodness, I would laugh so hard if there were some. But anyway, so you said it was 2021 or 2020, Mark?
2021.
That might matter. I don't know. But let's turn it over to Christopher Radulich here. Chris, do you have any questions for Mark, or shall we proceed to the second pitch of the night?
What I gather is Jabberjaw was a silent boo-boo, and he did nothing during this whole time.
No,
except at the end.
No, think Lethal Weapon. He's kind of the Mel Gibson to Danny Glover's straight man. He's cracking wise. He's giving exposition. Aquaman was definitely more of the action hero type thing. Jabberjaw is there for exposition, wise cracking, and general funnery.
Did you laugh?
I did. I nucked through the whole thing.
Sure you did.
Okay.
Okay.
Just picture it on the big screen, Dad. Picture it on the... Sorry, Chris. Picture it on the big screen.
I think I almost threw a flag when you started throwing political beliefs in there.
I was sweetening the pot.
That's what I thought. Okay, well, I'm ready to go unless there's any other questions from anybody.
I'm good.
All right. So... I had, by the way, Aquaman Jabberjaw, written by Dan Abnett, pencils by Paul Pelletier.
Yeah, the art's really good in this, by the way, and everyone looks like what they're supposed to look like, not some sort of avant-garde painting. It doesn't look like it was drawn in crayon.
Okay, all right,
that's good.
Sam Keith rules. So, okay, I had Super Sons and the Dino Mutt.
Through the sky, he's a go-go guy. Stronger than a train with a so-so brain.
You talking about me, Blue Falcon? Gosh.
He's fearless, scareless, a little too careless. Dynamite. He's a go-go dog person.
That's me, dog. Wonder.
He's fearless, careless, a little too careless. Dynamite. He's a go-go dog person.
That's me, dog. Wonder.
A boy and his dog. How many heartwarming stories start out or contain those two elements? Dynamite was once an ordinary dog named Mutt that grew up with an extraordinary friend, a wealthy boy by the name of Radley Crown, who was adept at melding technology and neuroscience into something called smart metal. When Mutt reaches the age of 15, that's over 100 in dog years, Radley makes a desperate attempt to save his best friend's life by applying the science that he has now mastered, turning him into the superpowered Dino Mutt.
Dun, 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 dun.
It is soon after that Radley himself dons a costume to become the Blue Falcon, and the two team up to protect their home, Big City, from all likes of crime, using technology and wit to stifle villainy. Enter a shadowy figure named the Red Vulture. And this is where we start our story. The Red Vulture uses the same smart metal to take over the mind of Blue Falcon and has him attempt to kill his best friend Dynamite. And there legitimately is a panel in here that looks like Blue Falcon is trying to break Dynamite's back, a la Bane versus Batman. Okay? I don't think Ronnie's impressed. So, shocked by this inconceivable betrayal, Dynamite barely escapes with his life to find the Super Sons. John, the mild-mannered son of Superman, and Damian, the stubborn, influential son of Batman. Dynamite begs them for help.
I can already tell you my father has like 20 questions regarding how the hell either Batman or Superman had progeny.
And I will not.
If it makes it feel any better, majority of us like to pretend that Damian Wayne doesn't exist.
A lot of people do. A lot of people hate Damian. So Dynomutt begs them for help. Damian and John set out to find the Blue Falcon and help Dynomutt before it's too late. Shocks abound as we find out the true origin of the Red Vulture and how it is linked to Radley's past before Dynomutt came along. Also, what of Blue Falcon? Will the evil transformation remain, as it seems the only way out may actually be his own demise? Of all the stories you hear about tonight, you can never go wrong with a story about a boy and his dog. That's my pitch. Now, see, Mark Radulich, I left it open. Now, unless he asked me about how it ends, then I might be in trouble. But I left it open-ended. My job is to pitch you on the book, make you want to pick it up and read it. So I hope I succeeded. Any questions from anybody?
Yeah. I once again, who the hell is Superman's son, and is Lois the mom? Like, I have no idea where this iteration of Superman's son came from.
The only thing you need to know is that these two kids are the sons of two of the most iconic DC superheroes. Whether you don't need to know any history going into this, you just need to know that's the son of Batman, that's the son of Superman, and you can easily tell that that's the case at the beginning.
Is this the Superboy that was in Young Justice?
No, that's
a clone of Superman.
Yeah,
I hate this book and everything having to do with it. But I'm not the judge.
Refer to Chris Radulich's opinion on DC earlier, like the first thing that came out of his mouth. So, but yeah,
I picked a loser there.
No, I know. Wait a second.
Wow.
Anybody else have any questions I won't answer?
No.
All right.
Yeah, does the super son have the same powers as his father?
You don't see them. Ronnie, is this how you feel? Usually, like, you're kind of like, you don't want to tell me like that sometimes.
Wait, I'm reveling in this moment. Just let me have this. Let me have this.
I can tell you right now from the wiki, it says abilities: developing strength and speed, heat vision, invulnerability, super breath, and enhanced vision. So I would say yes. And I think he can fly too. I don't think they said that.
Boring.
Oh. A boy and his dog. A boy and his dog.
I can give you one from science fiction if you'd like. A boy and his dog.
Please.
I've seen that.
Yeah, the boy and his dog. It's at the post-apocalypse world, and they're roaming around. They meet this beautiful woman, and the boy and the woman get it on, and then at the end he eats her because after all it's the boy and the dog, and they have to survive somehow.
Oh, jeez.
Nice.
That sounds scary. Moving on.
All right.
That under the rug.
Dang it. Well, is there a name for that? I mean, is it just called A Boy and His Dog?
That's what it's called.
Yeah.
That's what the name of the book, the short story was.
Sounds horrible. I would rather read this comic book if I were you, Chris. But I guess I'm at a loss here right now. I guess we've got to move on to Ronnie Adams. Ronnie Adams, you had. Oh, by the way, I better get the creative team out of the way here. They had it listed as. Yeah, Peter J. Tomasi was story and words. Fernando Pasarin was the penciler. As for art, Mark, you kind of alluded to the way your characters looked. I will tell you that I used to watch Dynomutt and the Blue Falcon in the mornings. Ronnie, did you ever watch Dynomutt in the morning?
Absolutely.
Yeah, buddy.
I'm feeling like a little infant here because I was introduced to Blue Falcon and Dynomutt when they did that cameo on Dexter's Laboratory.
Yeah. But yeah, the Blue Falcon and Dynomutt. Dynomutt looked like a regular dog. So, Ronnie, imagine seeing a regular dog start going through like horrific experiments and turning him into like a cyborg. And when he shows up and he's like halfway beaten to death after getting obviously the Bane back break, and he like tries and he's dragging his legs behind him to try and go get the attention of the Super Sons.
I don't want to imagine any of this.
It wasn't too pleasant. It looked kind of scary. Ronnie Adams.
Yep.
Your turn.
All right.
I better not be dead last. Go ahead.
Who is this superhero? Sarge? No. Rosemary, the telephone operator? No. Henry, the mild-mannered janitor?
Could be. Hong Kong Phooey, #1 super guy. Hong Kong Phooey, quicker than the human eye. He's got style, a groovy smile, and a vibe that just won't stop. When the going gets rough, he's super tough with a Hong Kong Phooey chop. Hong Kong Phooey, #1 super guy. Hong Kong Phooey, quicker than the human eye. Tick-a-chong, tick-a-chong, tick-a-chaka, tick-a-chong, tick-a-wow, in the bow, wow, wow. Hong Kong Phooey, fanrific.
Chris, let's take a trip. Let's take a trip back in time to 1976, Year of the Dragon, to Southside Metropolis, better known as the Suicide Slums, where we find one of the gold medal winning Olympic decathlete, Jefferson Pierce, who by day is a mild-mannered principal of Garfield High School, and by night he is the superhero Black Lightning. We open up with Black Lightning fighting Bronze Tiger, Cheshire, and Professor Presto. Don't feel bad, because I don't have a clue who they are either. But he is fighting these three supervillains, and I can only imagine that they are slightly B or C class supervillains in the DC universe, which is saying something. But he's fighting them, and they all know martial arts. Now, this is done, and it has a very 1970s exploitation kung fu flick feel to it. Even the art is kind of retro in this book. We find him fighting these three supervillains. He is trying to prevent them from finding this ultimate weapon called the Fist of God. So, knowing that this is some kind of ancient Mandarin Chinese prophecy and weapon, he goes to the only person that he knows can deal with something like this. He finds his old friend, Penrod Penry Pooch, better known to everyone else as Hong Kong Phooey. They join teams. They join up and they join together and form a team to fight Bronze Tiger, Cheshire, and their Professor. I hate saying this, Professor Presto, to prevent them from finding the last scroll, which is under Hong Kong Phooey's protection, and gaining the power of the Fist of God. But they fail ultimately because they have to give up the scroll, the last scroll that is under Hong Kong Phooey's protection, to save the life of Hong Kong Phooey's prized pupil, who is fighting with them, trying to prevent them from finding it. So knowing that the only way to stop them is to become one of them, Hong Kong Phooey reveals to Black Lightning that he has memorized the scroll, all the scroll. So when Professor Presto,
how many more keywords?
Yeah, no.
Come
when
on,
Professor
dude.
Presto taps the power of the Fist of God, Hong Kong Phooey reveals that he can do that as well, and they have a giant fight with these spirits as two dragons fighting one another in a martial arts showdown of the century. Hong Kong Phooey ends up prevailing, banishing Professor Presto to another realm where he will get, as I quote, what he deserves. Exactly what he deserves. From there, Black Lightning, Hong Kong Phooey, and his student, whose name escapes me at this moment because I really didn't care about her much.
Well, gee, if you're going to be honest.
She was not a very good character. They realize they have to depend on one another to keep the world safe. And I don't have anything. This is the most ridiculous comic book I've ever read. But actually, it reminded me a lot of the old 70s Kung Fu flicks, which I really enjoy. All 60s, 70s Kung Fu flicks. It had the feel of a 70s blaxploitation movie, to a point where there were two jives. One of those jives included a turkey in it. One was jive, and the other one was, he called Professor Presto a jive turkey.
Nice.
Yes, so I enjoyed it to that point. I enjoyed what it was for what it was. Just something fun. Chris, what are your opinions of the old 70s Kung Fu flicks?
Parodying, I forget what it was called.
Kung Fu.
I watched that on an ongoing basis. It was good.
Just called Kung Fu.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that. Hong Kong Phooey I liked because it was funny.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, he's a little more serious in this, but I couldn't help read the entire thing in Scatman Crothers' voice. So
I
there
gotta
was a
ask,
bonus to that.
I do have to ask, was there at one point anywhere in the comic where he referred to himself as the number one super guy?
Unfortunately not. I was waiting for that. But they do reference him
Disqualified.
as Hong Kong Phooey.
Lame.
I think Ronnie disqualified himself when midway through his pitch, he's just like, "Oh fuck it, I give up."
But it's true. I was trying to think of something good, but I will say this: it was actually not a bad read. I say the other one flippantly, but it was fun. Actually, I enjoyed it. It was one of those things where it combined several of my favorite things. I loved watching Hong Kong Phooey as a kid. I thought it was hysterical. Not much for Black Lightning. I've enjoyed what I've seen of the TV show. Didn't know much about him before that, but in this, he was not a martial artist of any kind. He called it martial arts jive. That was where the other jive came in. But
if you're interested in learning more about Black Lightning, check out our earlier podcast from this year on the first 12 issues of the original Black Lightning comic book on the Source Material podcast.
That's right. It was one of the older comics that we've actually read on this podcast. I mean, we don't dip back into the 70s very much, but that was actually my opinion. I liked that series. I thought it was a good series and it should have continued. My opinion.
And Jesse, why don't we read more stuff from the 70s? Too many words. Go ahead, Ronnie.
So I was like, where? But I was very respectful during yours. But yeah, as far as it goes, I mean, it combined, like I said, one of my favorite cartoon characters, Hong Kong Phooey, with one of my favorite film genres, the 70s Kung Fu flicks, where everybody knew, some sort of martial arts, but did it badly back in those days. If you ask me, Hong Kong Phooey is very underrated, and this gives him his due, and it treats him not like a joke, but like a legitimate superhero or a legitimate martial arts master.
Ronnie Adams, real quick,
yes.
what's your Twitter handle?
SH0NUFF. Show enough.
Show enough.
Yep. Because I enjoy Barry Gordy's The Last Dragon, featuring the bad guy Show Enough and the good guy Bruce Leroy.
Nice.
Did the cat from the cartoon at least show up?
No. What was the cat's name, though? I can't remember.
Wasn't it Spot the cat, I think?
No, there was a Rosemary, and that is the name of his prize pupil.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, Rosemary was the telephone operator on the cartoon.
Right.
Does anyone remember what Hong Kong Phooey's job was when he wasn't Hong Kong Phooey?
Oh, he's a janitor.
Janitor.
There we go.
Bring it, Mark.
No, I remember that because for the longest time, I wanted to find a Hong Kong Phooey costume for my Cocker Spaniel and dress him up as it for Halloween.
I'm a little confused. You said Black Lightning was doing Kung Fu?
No,
I thought his thing was electricity.
No, he was not doing Kung Fu. He did not know martial arts. He called it jive. But he teamed up with the only person who knew about martial arts that he was friends with, and that was Hong Kong Phooey.
And they knew each other like from the war or something, or how did they know each other?
Who served in the Vietnam War.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, a picture of Penrod Pooch serving in the United States Army in the Vietnam War.
Very nice.
Still with Scatman Crothers' voice, though.
I can't do Scatman Crothers' voice, but I can hear it in my head.
Yeah, exactly.
So to sum up, we have an action-adventure buddy cop that serves as a tail to protect the progressives and down with the conservatives.
Here we go again.
we have a terrible a boy and his dog story with a confusing Superboy, and we have a movie that exploits black people. Dad, did you hear what he said? He said blaxploitation.
Jeez.
Hey, Mark.
Bend the scales here, are we?
Yeah. Thank you.
Not obvious.
I was just summing up.
Your father's impartial, and I resent the fact that you're actually trying to do that on my podcast. Ridiculous. Yeah. Unbelievable. Okay, so creative team, by the way, for Revenge of the God Fist. It is written by Brian Hill. I can't say that I've heard of him. Pencils by Dennis Cohen, and inks by somebody I've heard of, which is Bill Sienkiewicz. Please proceed, Alexis.
Wrench, socket, plugs, motor, tires, chassis, spade wagon. That's me. Big race today. carburetor. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, Chris, you gave us earlier your opinion. You have seen a few seasons of Flash, and you said you are not a fan of them, correct?
Right.
Okay, then I'm going to cut the crap and not talk about Flash specifically. You understand what the Speed Force is if you've seen a handful of the episodes.
Yes.
And I really don't feel like pulling out the dry erase board behind me and trying to go into the science of that stuff because I'm already screwed over enough on this. So let's not, I'm not going to dig my grave any further. So the next question, how familiar are you with Speed Buggy?
Who?
Oh my God, that was brilliant.
Okay. We got Speed Buggy. It is literally a talking dune buggy. It is run by 3 teenagers. This was one of the Hanna Barbera Scooby-Doo clones that came out in the late 60s, early 70s. They were churning those things out like crazy. So, and I should also add that this little talking dune buggy was also partially the inspiration for Herbie the Love Bug.
I like the Love Bug, and I don't think me and Mark ever watched Speed Buggy. Did we, Mark?
I'm aware of what Speed Buggy is, but no. Other than maybe we call it an episode of Wacky Races, we did not watch Speed Buggy.
Okay, but you are familiar with Herbie the Love Bug. Well, imagine Herbie the Love Bug, but it's a dune buggy, and it talks. And that's pretty much what you got with Speed Buggy. Now, classic cartoon, we never got a reason for the car talking. It's a cartoon. Again, if it's a Scooby-Doo clone, they didn't ask why the dog was talking. They're not going to ask why the car is talking. But we're going to take this into a classic science gone wrong, let us not meddle where men should not meddle storyline.
Uh-oh.
We're going to have a scientist, and he is going to seek out the help of the Flash to perfect his race car, the Dune Buggy, which actually has the technology in it to use the Speed Force. And he wants Flash's help. But something goes wrong. Someone has meddled with the controls, and they end up in a post-apocalyptic future.
It always goes there, doesn't it?
Yeah, I know it does. I didn't write that part. But what's worse, the Doctor and the car have merged.
Oh.
The Doctor's soul is in the Speed Buggy.
Mm.
And there's only one chance that they're faced with another classic DC villain, Savitar. He's another Speed Force user. We're not going to go with Reverse Flash or Black Flash. God knows those are used way too much. So we're going to go with Savitar. He can use the powers as well, and he sends Reverse Speed Buggy, because if there's a Reverse Flash, there's a Reverse Speed Buggy. He's going to send him into the past to make sure that this future does come true. So the Doctor in the Dune Buggy has to make a choice. And he knows that he can go to the past and he can make sure that this never happens. But if he does, he will be trapped in the Speed Buggy forever.
Tell my dad in great detail which iteration of the Flash this is, because it's not who he thinks it is. It's not the Flash that's on. It's not Barry Allen.
It's not Barry Allen. This is Wally West. This is the second or third iteration of the Flash. I don't know how deep you want to go into that mythos.
Mm-hmm.
No, but what does the Flash have to do with the Speed Buggy? I mean, how did he fit into this?
Because of the concept of using the Speed Force to bend the laws and practice the science. This is a Doctor who truly believes that science is there to take risks, to continue to break through into new horizons. This is a Doctor who says, if there's an opportunity, I want to take it and I want to push forward, but he needs Flash's help with this one.
Flash gets involved with creating the Speed Force speed thing, and then that's it? I mean, he doesn't have anything to do with correcting it?
Well, once they're in the post-apocalyptic future, somebody's got to fight off Savitar while Speed Buggy goes back and sets things right.
So Wally West is up there fighting Savitar.
Yes.
Okay, so we've got callbacks to, number one, Wally West is one of the most beloved Flashes out there. Savitar, which I never even knew existed until I watched the actual TV show, and I don't know if he was created for the sole purpose of that or if he's existed prior to that.
He's existed prior to. Okay. I did a little research on him.
Got it. So, well, I'm sold if you're going into the future. So, you got me, but... But yeah, Wally West, just like you said, third and recently killed Flash from what I've heard. He actually got killed in one of the
Again?
newest events. Well, it was, yeah, Wally West was brought back with Rebirth, and everybody just threw their hands up and was like, just thank goodness we brought Wally West back. And then they killed him in this most recent, what is it called? Like Heroes in Crisis?
Does DC hate their fans?
What does it matter? You know they're going to bring him back in the future. There's no point in killing someone off in a comic book so they don't stay dead.
That's true.
Nobody ever dies in the comics.
I like the speed buggy stuff, that's for sure. I used to watch speed buggy all the time. A reverse speed buggy. That's awesome.
Who I should add talks in reverse. It's the exact. Remember when we were talking about the Satana comic and having to read everything in reverse?
Backwards, yep.
Yeah, same. Oh, I just realized I didn't do the creative team like you guys did. Yeah, title Speed Buddies, writer Scott Lobdell, penciler Brett Booth.
Ronnie, you recognize the name Brett Booth?
All right, no.
Okay, that's all right. He if you have some Image comics like Backlash or
okay.
Yeah, his art was real. I mean, I used to love his art. I'm glad he's still doing stuff. And there's actually one of the inkers for a few of the pages is Norm Rapmond, which is another name I recognize from Image Comics. And Chris, one more time, no more questions for Alexis. I know that was
How much was that like the speed buggy in the cartoon?
Well, it's kind of hard to say. You see, in the cartoon, Speed Buggy had this definitive speak. He was voiced by Mel Blanc, king of the voice acting. And he had this very distinctive speaking style that he had this, like a... I'm so sorry if that's not sounding right on the microphone.
sounded just like it to me.
It sounded like a car starting up here. It's like a, hey, pal. Hey, what's going on? Like that.
Perfect.
And it's a little hard for that to come across in the writing. There's a couple parts where it looks like the speed buggy is stammering, and you can tell that that's what they're kind of going for. But unfortunately, that's a speech that doesn't translate into writing. So I'll admit that if you're not familiar with Speed Buggy and the way he talks and everything, then that would be a little off.
All right, so
just spit all over my phone.
We have each brought our 4 comics to the table. Which one would you pick out of those 4?
Because I'd have to pick my son.
Oh, no. No.
Pick this, ladies and gentlemen.
And the reason for that is quite simple. It sounds the most true to Hanna and Barbera. When I listen, yours was dead on arrival. Anything that involves
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Alexis, yours sounded at least. See, I liked Hanna and Barbera a lot. I mean, I laughed myself silly from what I remember, even as an adult watching it. To have these characters turn serious or talking social commentary just is totally off-putting to me. I can't get into that. And so I'm not that familiar with Speed Buggy, but at least it sounds like it tried to stay true to the Speed Buggy. And not my Hong Kong Phooey. Again, that's not my Hong Kong Phooey. And without the cat, what is Hong Kong Phooey?
Dog martial artist. That's
Now,
Ronnie is very conflicted. Ronnie is very conflicted right now because on the one hand he loves my dad for the fact that he's just like, these are not my characters, and this is Ronnie's like mantra on this show. On the other hand,
only when we do ridiculous things like this.
The final verdict is going to Mark Radulich with Aquaman and Jabberjaw. Well, Mark, you may have bested me on my own show, but I'll tell you what.
I demand a recount.
You, sir, are in for a world of hurt the next time we have a contest. I don't care. We could be talking favorite Slayer tracks, and I'll bring my mom on. Okay, that's what I'll do.
I just want a trivia show.
I honestly didn't think he was going to pick me. Like I said, my dad is my harshest critic, and I almost guaranteed he was going to find something wrong with what I pitched. I had no idea he was going to deconstruct the 3 of you. Well, I didn't think he was going to deconstruct your guys as bad as he did. I think it's hilarious, and I love my dad for it. But I did not. I don't want to be seen as having brought my own judge that I bought and paid for, because that's not the case. He'll tell you.
Oh, it's totally how we see it.
Yeah, sorry.
Chris, I appreciate you coming on here and putting up with our nonsense. I'm so glad that we had, Mark came through and said, we've got somebody. And I was like, oh man, who's he going to bring on? And he said, I'm bringing my dad. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I know this will be one of the best episodes that we had. And I don't think we were disappointed in any way.
Not at all.
So I appreciate it very much, sir. So we'll go ahead and I think we'll get into plugs. I don't think we have anything else to kind of cover here. Mark, do you have anything?
You might want to start with my father's plugs, because we're going to be here for a while. He has a lot of things to plug.
I have to say I did enjoy this. It really was nice. I did find it funny, and I found it interesting. So I'm very glad you invited me on. And if he wants to plug, the only thing I can say is you got to vote Democrat. You can't possibly vote Republican.
I have to go now.
And just like that, Ronnie Adams' heart was broken.
I have some crying into my pillow to do.
That's great.
No, you mean crying into your MAGA hat?
No, it's in a glass case on my shelf.
Away from the dust, plastic all around it. You can't even look at it.
Have an alarm on it.
All right, let's throw it over to Alexis so she can plug her business and all that.
Please do.
All right. Yeah, those of you who listened to this show before, you know my company, Honeysuckle Rose Creations, intersection of geek and chic, makers of handmade jewelry. We are next going to be at Grand Rapids Comic-Con. This is our last show of the year. We are going to be taking a break from conventions throughout the winter. We're going to be focusing, of course, on the holidays, spending time with our families. But I should also add that at the end of November, we will be doing our Black Friday, Cyber Monday mega sale for both of our Etsy and handmade and Amazon stores. Again, that's Honeysuckle Rose Creation.
So I do just want to throw this out here real quick. Alexis, you brought us luck here on the last show where we actually got our first ever comment and rating on the whole. Didn't you say it was the first time we ever got something rated on the Radulich and Broadcasting Network, Mark?
Yeah, on iTunes.
That's pretty great. So let's.
No way.
Yeah.
So I just want to thank you again. I know I messaged you in private and said thank you very much for your contribution. And they made a specific point to point out that they loved hearing a lady discuss comics along with the boys. So
yeah, good job, token girl.
Chris is out of the way. We got Alexis out of the way. We'll go Ronnie Adams here.
I sometimes have a show called the Streaming Boy Podcast, where we talk about pop culture, nerd culture subjects. We have had a ton of network exclusives, which you can find right here on Radulich Broadcasting Network. Please check those out. We also have a ton of shows in archives on, I say archives, but it's not really archives, but if you go on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, iHeart, all that stuff, you can find us on there and listen to our old shows, which are actually, I think, really good. There are still plans to start up the show again, hopefully here soon. Some things are working and turning and going, so be watching out for new episodes coming up. I'm sure we'll be still cranking out network exclusives in the near future, very near future. And I also have gone to probably my last con of this year, echoing Alexis there. Actually, I don't do anything productive at them like she does. I just go and spend money and have fun. But I went to the Fayetteville Comic-Con. It always happens around October. They always have really cool guests. This time around, they had the original Eddie Munster there. Butch Patrick was there.
Oh.
Actually got to sit on his panel. It was really cool listening to him talk about the old Munsters TV show. The DJ that was there who keeps the show going, the con going, with announcements and stuff, kept calling it the Monsters, and I think he got dressed down, so he actually corrected himself. Yeah. So I don't know how you mistake that, but it's the Monsters. Yeah. But let's all cross the pronunciation bridge. You should have told him about it, Ron. I want to burn that bridge to the ground. But anyway, lots of cool vendors there. Didn't meet any creators this time around. As far as I thought, Philip Kennedy Johnson was going to be there, but unfortunately he was not there. But the highlight of the con for me was I did get to meet two of the horror icons, one of my favorite actors and my favorite special effects creator, and one of an amazing director in his own right, Tom Savini, and I got to meet Tony Todd as well. Savini is a very cool dude, very nice, very gracious. Signed, I got a poster of his first first movie he ever directed was the 1990 remake of Night of the Living Dead, and which is my favorite horror movie, the original from 1968. Yeah, 68. And so he remade it, and it was very true to the original, and also starred Mr. Tony Todd as Ben. As I was going to meet Tony Todd, his handler was letting me know that if I wanted my poster signed, that Tom Savini signed for me, it would be $10 more than what it would be to buy a picture, one of his pictures, and have it signed. And I was like, and that has nothing to do with Mr. Todd. I mean, with Tony Todd, that's all with the contract he signed with the company that brings him in and stuff like that. So I just bought another picture, and as I went up to meet Tony Todd, I said, Mr. Todd, it's great to meet you. And he stopped and said, no. And I was like, crap, this is going to be that moment where I meet somebody and they turn out to be nothing that I thought they were going to be. Yeah. He said, my name is Tony. Call me Tony. What's your name?
Oh, that's cool.
And I said, my name is Ronnie. And he said, Ronnie, thank you so much for being here. I'm glad you're here, blah, blah, blah. And we stood there and talked for 10 minutes at least in a big line of people about Night of the Living Dead and things like that. And he is a phenomenal human being, just a very gracious person, very nice. He signed and he asked me if I wanted the picture I bought personalized, and I said absolutely, to let him know that I'm not going to sell it. For one, I'm going to frame it. So he personalized it, and then he saw my poster that Tom Savini signed. He said, "Oh, you got this? You got this from Tom?" And I said, "Yeah, I just met Mr. Savini just a little bit ago." And he said, "Well, I'll just sign that too." And he just signed it for free. Cool. And so he signed both of them for me, and I got to sit on both of their panels. Tony Todd is a phenomenal storyteller, and so is Mr. Savini, who's 72. I did not realize that. Yeah. It does not look a day like he doesn't. The dude's a beast. I mean, he's phenomenal shape. I didn't realize he was 72. He talked about his time in the Vietnam War as a photographer, and that's how he got into special effects, makeup, and things like that. It was all around. It was a great con. I got to hang out with my friend Hector Murray, who actually penned Faith and Fandom, 5 books that have that bring his faith, he brings his faith into his fandom, and he writes Bible studies on any fandom that you can imagine: Doctor Who, comic books, video games, Firefly, everything. Fantastic books, because he knows his stuff, and he actually said he's one of the judges on the Nerd Slam panel, which I participate in whenever I can. Great guy. So I got to hang out with him. And overall, Fayetteville was a great con. I've got a bunch of cosplay pictures up on Instagram, which you can find at Screaming Boy Productions, Screaming Boy Podcast. You can find us on Twitter at Screaming Boy PR, and on Facebook, Screaming Boy Podcast. So go on there, subscribe to our podcast, hit like, whatever, follow us, whatever you do on all of this stuff, and give us a shout out. We love, when people talk to us. So that's it for me. Sorry it took so long, but Fayetteville Comic-Con was a hit for me. I bought way too much stuff.
Ronnie, I'll tell you right now, buddy, it's good to have you back. We've missed you the past couple weeks, man.
It's good to be back.
Glad you're back, man.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, you came back just in time to hear Mark Radulich lay on the schedule.
All right. Well, just
good night.
Luckily, he's still awake and not hallucinating right now. He can give us the schedule.
I actually eased up on our stick of picking on each other a little bit tonight because your father was here. Kind of wish I hadn't now.
Just a quick update on when we're doing all this again. The next DC Looney Tunes Part 2 will actually be in February of 2019. It'll air February 11th. Just a reminder, we have Alexis doing Catwoman and Sylvester. I'm doing Harley and Gossamer. Ronnie is Joker and Daffy. And Jesse is Lex Luthor and Porky. And I guess we'll either get Josh or my dad to come on for those as the judge. Or maybe
Just realized I will be out of town the entire month of February.
Whatever. Come on.
Which means that we will not be getting around to DC Hanna Barbera 3 until June. It's on the calendar now. The same week that it'll air the same week that we're reviewing Toy Story 4. That's June 24th. And just to review, I will win with Huckleberry Hound and Green Lantern. Alexis will come in second with Deathstroke and Yogi Bear. Ronnie will come in third with Nightwing and Magilla Gorilla. And Jesse will be in fourth place because my dad hates Superman with Superman and Top Cat.
We're going to change that. He's going to be a fan by the time that's over with. I know what I'm up against now. I know what court I'm heading into.
You have 8 months. You have 8 months to convince my father that Superman isn't terrible. So that's what's going on almost a year from now. How about we talk about what's going on in the immediate future? This week on the Radulich and Broadcasting Network, in fact, tomorrow, Robert Winfrey and possibly Robert Cooper and I will be reviewing Voltron Season 7. Alexis Hanna will be back on TV Party tonight. We'll be looking at the chilling adventures of Sabrina, which is the Riverdale spinoff. We're accommodating Alexis' schedule. We're moving the Metal Hammer of Doom to the 8th of November. We'll be reviewing Soulfly Ritual. As for last week, last week was Halloween week. We looked at Halloween Night Dance with some folks, with Justin Thomas and some folks from the Unspoken Decade. There was an on trial for Halloween 2, the now out of continuity sequel to the original Halloween. We reviewed Trick or Treat Reanimated on the Metal Hammer of Doom on Halloween. And then November 1st, we did a commentary for Spaced Invaders to celebrate the anniversary of the War of the Worlds broadcast. Looking at next week, we'll have Alexis and possibly some other guests on for Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe. We'll be doing a DMU Hollywood for the Illumination Studios iteration of The Grinch. My son thinks The Grinch is the scariest thing ever. I'm hoping to have him tell us all about his nightmares.
Oh no.
And then on the Metal Hammer of...
I was going to say, I'll tell you this much. I just heard the cover of the You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch. They're going for that movie. That alone is going to give people nightmares.
Terrific. Metal Hammer of Doom brings you New York Hardcore All-Stars. Sick of it all. They're going to wake the sleeping dragon, baby. And then Andrew Graham from our Canadian office will be celebrating Veterans Day with him as we do a TV party for Our World War. The following week, Gavin Napier joins us on source material for Justice League America, The Tornado's Path, a book they planned to do like a year ago, and it finally found time on the schedule to put it. We'll be doing a Damn You Hollywood for this Fantastic Beasts sequel. The night before Thanksgiving, our homecoming show, our turkey show. This year's turkey nomination, Hoobastank. Push, pull. And then we wrap up November with Robin Hood Week all week long. We'll be looking at Matt Fraction's Hawkeye, the first 4 issues, Volume 1, My Life is a Weapon. We'll be doing a Damn You Hollywood for the new piece of shit Robin Hood movie that's coming out. It looks terrible. And then we'll take a brief break to go boom with POD and Dread Heart. And then finally...
Man, that's tragic.
Booyaka, booyaka!
And then finally, we'll be doing an on trial for Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Very good.
Who's defending? I always ask this, but I'm really honestly very interested in finding out who is defending and who is prosecuting Prince of Thieves.
I'm probably going to end up defending it. I think I'm defending that and Rocky IV. I have to talk it over with Sean because I'm prosecuting Halloween 2. So we'll see. It's like a month from now, so we'll figure it out. But I think if I had to take a guess, I think I'm defending.
Okay.
Well, it's good. It's good.
There's some good and bad with Prince of Thieves.
You stop it.
All right.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, this brings our discussion of DC Hanna Barbera 2 to a close, whatever the official title is. And I want to thank, once again, Christopher Radulich for coming on here, his debut appearance here on the Source Material Podcast. Alexis Hanna, once again, for making her presence and herself available for recording tonight. Ronnie Adams, welcome back to the podcast. Glad to have you back, sir. And of course,
glad to be back, sort of.
The patriarch, Mark Radulich. I'm ready to get out of here. I know these guys are. We're calling it a night. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We'll talk to you next week. Have a good one. Bye-bye. Thank you all for joining us. Make sure to give that Radulich in Broadcasting Facebook page a like to stay up on top of all the great podcasts we have to offer. We are at home on Spreaker, but you can also find us on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, and recently we have hit the air on Spotify. Find your favorite podcast platform and type in RADULICH to subscribe for some great content. If you enjoyed this show, please feel free to share and spread the word. And as always, we appreciate any feedback and look forward to entertaining you again soon.
Wait, what's the order we're going in?
Yeah, so it's me, Jesse, Ronnie, and then Alexis. And we should start with the strongest first.
Whatever you say, sir. Whatever you say. We put a hurting down and on your son. I mean, wait a second. Judge impartially.
Absolutely. I never was a big.
Okay.
This is gonna be great.
We are off to a great start.
That's one for the gag reel.
Jab, 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 jab,
Jabberjaws.
If we could not sing the theme.
Wait.
Gentlemen, bonus round. Who can do the best Jabberjaw and laugh? The Curly Howard. Yeah, let's hear it.
No respect.
2 for the gag reel.
What's your problem? You have 2 kids.
No, I understand the mechanics of how I'm gonna regret this night.
When the Clark Kent and Lois Lane from the post-Crisis on Infinite Earths reality find themselves in the post-Flashpoint reality after the Convergence event, it becomes necessary for them to adopt a different last name from their counterparts in that reality. Later, when they move... Wait.
I have to stop. I'm getting a nosebleed from this.
Yeah, I'm starting to have a seizure.
I told you. Mark, I should have never even attempted to answer your question. I should have just said, don't even worry about it. How did I dig?
I started coughing there.
Damn it. Well, it was the heartwarming story, not heartworm, which, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, make sure to take your pets again.
Jesus Christ.
Am I ever going to get to go, or are you going to give more PSAs here?
Seriously, I'm starting to feel like I should apologize to the corgi right now for having to listen to this. Say you're sorry to Eddie.
Sorry, Eddie.
Papa Radulich, if you will.
You can claim him all you want. You're not getting my inheritance. Go.
I will after this. My dog, I bought my dog a Thunder shirt, not a costume or anything, but something to help him not be nervous anymore, and he ate it.
Hey, Chris, what's your opinion of dressing up animals in costume?
I also think it's cruel and unusual punishment.
So, Alexis, don't even bother going.